And so I want to share some of what had happened to me when I started to do the neuroscience guided therapies and practices about 8 years ago. My dreams changed, and it took me a long time to sort out what was being said in my dreams, but I've come to understand it quite well. And then when I started to understand it better, I decided that I would illustrate it. Now, I do have an art background. I have a fine arts background, but because of my busy schedule, I actually used some AI tools to help me generate these images more quickly, which was still not easy, but still takes a lot of time because you got to figure out the prompts, which is not easy. But it was very helpful, and I found that creating it and reviewing them has been extremely helpful for me. Because when I see the images, it's not just intellectual; it's actually body oriented and very profound. So I'm going to start with the first story. This actually happened quite a long time ago, and here's what happened. I had this gnarly nightmare, and this is what I saw. And it was absolutely horrified. I mean, I woke up sweating and just absolutely upset, and lasted for days. And luckily, I was working with a very skilled therapist that knew how to use hypnotherapy. So basically, I saw this gnarly thing. I was up in a dark attic. It was very kind of misty, and this thing kind of arose out of the floor, or kind of from the entrance, and looked at me, and I was like, Christ, what the hell's this? And it was the sort of thing where, I'm an adult, but the little kid in me, this is what I'm showing in this one, was absolutely petrified. So I brought this to my therapist, and she understood a lot of the symbolism stuff. And she said, this is part of your subconscious trying to get attention. It's trying to be seen and heard. And I was like, oh, I never thought of that. So she took me through a meditation, kind of guided meditation hypnosis session, where she said, I want you to invite this part of yourself to talk to you. And I never thought of that before. I thought I just had to get away from it. And so it started to shift. So now I'm more curious. You can see that the young child is like, okay, this thing is big and gnarly, but let me just settle down and kind of be with it. That was not easy, by the way, not easy at all. But I was able to calm down and kind of be with it instead of wanting to run from it and make it, run from the monster. But basically what she explained to me and this is what I know now, is this is my shadow trying to get attention. So this is a part of myself that I've buried, that I've ignored, that I've, kind of pushed away because I couldn't face it. It was too much. But because I had the therapist who I really trusted, I had enough resource. I also had my life situation, even though it wasn't perfect, was pretty stable at the time. So I was able to be with it. And she said, I want you to invite this part of yourself into a safe place. And she goes, what would that be for you? And I said, some beautiful garden with in a sunny day with lots of flowers and trees and, nice smell in the air. And so that's what I did. I invited the shadow, the monster the demon or whatever you want to call it, to be with me in a place where I felt at ease. And she encouraged us to have a conversation, which was really wild. And I was surprised how it actually went really well. And I said she goes, why don't you ask it what it wants? And I did. And I said, what do you want? And why are you kind of scaring the hell out of me? And at nighttime. And this part of myself said, I need you to pay attention to me. I need you not to ignore me anymore. I'm part of you, and you, and this is part of what arose from the session, was that I had been so afraid to let the quote, aggressive, monstrous part of me out at all, because I saw my parents be completely out of control in terms of their impulses. And I never wanted to be like them. I wanted to be a responsible person that didn't do those things that harmed themselves and others. What the therapist helped me understand is that it was okay to let this part of me come out more and to start to arise in me. And because I didn't have to be afraid that I would do the same horrible things my parents did. That was basically the message. And so now this process, this next stage happened over quite a number of years, but more and more now, this is the relationship I have with that part of myself, which is it's still very powerful and kind of scary, but there's respect. And you can see how the figure of the man is not afraid and is not thinking that it has to run. And the demon isn't either angry or afraid of me either. So we're starting to kind of work things out. And I'm able to integrate this more and more. It's still a process. I'm not done, and me creating these images has been extremely therapeutic for me. I don't know if that's the way you guys will do it, but I wanted to give you this example. This next one came quite a bit later, and it was another dream. So this was during the year, 8 years ago, when I went through a massive amount of transformation in 1 year. It was incredible. And so the dream started that I walked by a restaurant I used to work at, and I saw some people I knew. So I was starting to chat with them. And, I felt comfortable and at ease, and it was kind of a pleasant situation. And then out of the corner of my eye, I noticed there was this incredible chaotic thing unfolding. And all these people were freaking out, and it was very scary. I could feel my body activated. It was like, oh my God, what's going on here? And it was all this craziness down the street. And kind of what emerged from the craziness and the chaos and the just confusion was this kind of blue ball of lightning that was very menacing. So I'm confronting the blue ball. It's extremely anxiety producing. I mean, in the dream, I was really overwhelmed. And again, the sense was, do I run or do I fight it somehow? But then the voice in my head said, no, rise above it, which was very odd. And so I had that sensation that I could rise up. So I did. And I put my hands out like this. I don't know why I knew how to do that. And I rose into the air quickly. And the chaotic ball tried to get me. So it's trying to reach out and get me. And I avoid it because I go high enough. As I go up, I feel better. That's the other thing, is I felt better and better as I rose into the air. And then for some reason, once I got high enough, the whole scene shifted. And here I was in this clear sky, beautiful clouds, just an incredible view, sort of elated feeling of being beyond the chaos. And then, I realized when I kind of looked at myself that I was in the position of Jesus on the cross, which was kind of, like I said, very surprising because I wasn't raised that way at all. But it felt amazing. As I looked towards the sun, I just had this incredible elated feeling of being glad to be alive, grateful for being, part of existence. And it was a totally transformative moment. And I do believe that was very reflective of what I was going through personally in my transformation. But that arose from my subconscious. And again, creating these images and reviewing them has been very helpful for me to reinforce that transformation that I experienced. But basically, what the dreams are is your subconscious trying to talk to your conscious mind about what it's struggling with. And so if you understand the symbols, then you actually understand what your subconscious is actually trying to tell you, which is part of the problem, right? And I try to teach you guys that in terms of somatic body sensations as it relates to the states on the chart, because that's another way to do it. But the thing that's great about the stories and myths is it speaks to a subconscious part of ourselves that I think is quite powerful. It's also more interesting somehow. It's not dry. It's like it's engaging and intriguing, I think is what I'd say. So, and I think that's important too, because you want to be able to engage in things voluntarily and not think, oh, this is boring or this is tedious. Instead, it's like, oh my God, I want to slay a dragon. How do I do it? It's a little bit more interesting than I have to overcome my challenges. I mean, yeah, we all do it, but slaying a dragon sounds a lot more fun. or and it's fun, but a lot more dimensional and dynamic in a way that's inspiring, I would say, for me. That's how I see it. Call out the hero. I mean, let's stop living the tragedy story and let's get on to the hero who says, "This is rough. I feel like I can't do it, but I'm gonna engage anyway." And the other thing I wanted to tell everyone too is that there's no such thing as a failure when you go on the hero's journey, because it's a process. It's not, there's no end game. It's not an end game. It's a way of being that you're trying to embody. And you're always going to do it half rate at first, because we all do. It's like, you're not going to be the best painter the first time you paint a painting, are you? That's a hero's journey too. You have to engage continually in it and realize that engaging in itself is healing. That's the hard thing to remember, because we get so burned that we don't want to engage at all. And that's the real failure right there. But of course we don't want to engage because we don't have the resources. So the key is to build your resources, to train for it, so to speak, and to look for resources like my business coach with the financial expertise that can hold your hand and build up your strength in the face of that particular dragon. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to approach it, but that's one of them. Thank you all for participating. And I hope that helps on your journeys. And I hope to actually go into this material more in the future, because I think it's quite amazing. If you found this content helpful, please like and subscribe. You can look forward to more videos about how to overcome chronic illness and chronic pain.